What is up, YouTube? My name is Evan, and today we are going to take a look at the first of several decks that I am testing out to get ready for Texas Regionals at the end of January. This is expanded format, which I'm going to go ahead and tell you is not exactly my format. But that said, a lot of the cards in it are cards that I am pretty familiar with, so let's get right on into it. As the title of the video should have clued you in, this is a Seismitoad deck. It's a Seismitoad EX deck, for those of you new enough or who have somehow forgotten the years this thing influenced the standard environment. This guy is all about his Quaking Punch. It's 2 colorless energy for 30 damage, and it item locks your opponent for the turn. And this deck isn't even going to bother with any pretense of trying to grenade hammer. We are just going to straight up Quaking Punch all the time with Seismitoad. That is the goal. But we are also going to combine this big bad boy, who we're running, yes, 4 of, to maximize the chances we'll get him early and to allow us to Ultra Ball him away without any concerns. This guy is going to be paired with Garbotoxin Garbodor. So not only will we be item locking our opponents, but we're also going to ability lock them. As everyone who's playing in Standard or Expanded right now is probably aware, the environment is incredibly ability heavy right now. Very, very, very much so. Just look at the top decks of the past few major events, or your own locals if you're lucky enough to live in an area that has one, and you should definitely be aware that, yeah, items are pretty much a staple, abilities are pretty much a staple of every deck. Yeah, items are too, but yeah, abilities definitely are pretty crucial to everyone's strategy. Take that away, and especially when combined with item lock, you have the ability to definitely cripple your opponent and put them in a position where they can't do a whole heck of a lot. But of course, one Garbodor isn't enough. We're also going to be running 2 Trashalanche Garbodors. Basically, this guy is just a second hitter, and he also offers us some power. So if we need to pick up a quick KO somewhere, especially late in the game, this guy can come in for your Seismitoad and just finish the job. And it also means that if our opponent is putting the squeeze on us, we do potentially have a way to take something out other than just very slowly with Seismitoad, because we're not really emphasizing Toad's damage in this deck. So yeah, he gives us a little bit of muscle. To support those guys, we are going to run 4 Trubbish. I can't count today, guys. It's been a long week. It's the holiday season. By the way, happy holidays of whatever kind you celebrate. But yeah, we're going to run 4 Trubbish. I just picked this one up. I like Stomp Off. It's kind of a nice little neat late game alternate win condition if you need, and early game if you don't quite find the DCE, like it's buried deep in your deck. This can be something you can do with your time if you don't get Toad. You know, those cards can matter. So anyway, he's just a 70 HP Trubbish, basically. Anything else will probably be just about as good. And we are also running 2 Tapu Leles. Even though we are ability locking in those first few turns, we're going to try to play Lele, fire off that Wonder Tag, get something like, well, actually, we have a whole army of supporters we're about to go over, but like we might get Lily or some such thing, just to get our setup and make sure we can get our locks up as quickly as possible. Because a deck like this, as you might realize, does rely pretty heavily on getting your control as quickly as humanly possible. So this card is kind of an insurance policy for that. It's easy to Ultra Ball for it to help set up and so on and so forth. So those are all the Pokemon in the deck. That is literally it. Those are the only ones. As for supporters, we're going to run just 4 Sycamores. Just a great, ridiculously powerful draw supporter. It's pretty much always a good thing to see. We're running 3 Ns. It's another good draw supporter, but it does shuffle things away and can have some late game power for us. And because we're in Expanded, we have access again to Colress. Thank you, Lord. This is one of the cards I missed the most when that last rotation hit, because Colress is just so stunning. People load up their benches so much, especially because of things like Tapu Lele and Shaman and so on. So this card can be a terrific way to exploit that. Just by shuffling your hand away and drawing so many more things. I mean, you don't even have to discard the cards from your hand before you get the massive draw. It's so good. Anyway, we are going to run that 1 Lily. It's a wonderful turn 1 draw option right here, because drawing up to 8 is amazing, especially as you'll probably have ways to kind of play your hand out really quickly. We have a lot of items we can throw down and whatnot. So we're also running 1 Skyla. There are, like I say, we're about to see it, there are quite a few nice little one-of items, or like items like Hypnotoxic Laser, Ultra Ball, etc., that we may definitely want to fish for. So she's very useful for that. And because remember, we're in Expanded, these one-of cards are great targets for Versus Seeker that you can discard early to an Ultra Ball or a Sycamore or whatever, and then just bring it right back later when you need it with a Versus Seeker to pinpoint that card you haven't managed to draw yet, or like say a Floatstone. We're also going to run one Professor Kukui. One thing people kind of count on with Seismitoad is the amount of damage he deals, so this can throw off their calculations and pick up surprising KOs, and this can also be really nice with Garbodor's Trash Avalanche to once again kind of pick up some unexpected damage, and you can certainly threaten it pretty well from the discard pile as well. Speaking of unexpected knockouts, we're also running one Lysander and one Guzma. Their first effect is obviously the same: grab one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, put it in the active slot. This can be really nice as a control element especially, but it can be nice for picking things off, as I've mentioned before, with Garbodor's Trash Avalanche. But we are running one of each because sometimes that secondary effect of Guzma can be a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. So we're going to give ourselves some Versus Seeker options right here, although these cards do kind of feel like they're basically the same card in a lot of ways. And our final supporter is a one-of Acerola. Once again, it's a great Versus Seeker target. And just when they think they've blown up that Seismitoad, you can pick him and his DCE and whatever else up, switch in the new Seismitoad from the bench, and then just replay everything else down, completely erasing their progress. So that's the supporter lineup we're kind of running, and this is kind of an experimental form of the deck. I haven't solidified everything, but this is just kind of like the first build I threw together that seemed like it would probably be effective. Running 4 Versus Seeker, the card I am easily most glad to see return, since we're in Expanded. We're going to run 4 Ultra Balls for all the obvious reasons. We want to make sure we get those, just whatever we need. Get that Lele, get that extra Toad, get that particular Garbodor you need for that situation, whatever. We've also got 3 Float Stones because, you know what, Field Blower is a thing, and making sure your Garbotoxin is online is very important, and also a lot of our mons have some pretty heavy retreats. So that's a pretty important tool there. We're also running 3 Fighting Fury Belts. These are pretty much, obviously, almost exclusive for Seismitoad, just to make him very hard to knock out. And then we can Acerola him up or whatever, so we don't really need 4. Just 3 to make sure that we hit it and keep it around so he's at 220, being very hard to knock out, therefore. And squeezing a little extra damage out of him. Doesn't hurt. We've got 4 Hypnotoxic Lasers. This puts on a lot of pressure, especially when our opponents are in a tough situation with no abilities, no items. Really increases that damage over time. And hey, sometimes you can get that sleep hacks on the coin toss, so that's not a bad thing. And ramping up the damage for that, we of course are also opting for Verbank City Gym to really increase that damage. So instead of 10 every turn, you're getting 30 on there instead. Pretty old strategy, but it's still pretty viable, of course. We've got 2 Field Blowers, speaking of which, just a great way to pick off things like Fighting Fury Belt to get some KOs or get rid of stadiums you don't like, etc. It's just a nice utility card. And finally, some one-ups. We've got a Rescue Stretcher to pick up anything we're forced to discard too early on. And we've also got Special Charge. DCEs can be easy targets for hammers and so on. So I like running this because we have a very light energy count. And if those DCEs get picked off, that can be disastrous for us. So the ability to restock them, I feel like justifies the card slot. And finally, our ace spec is going to be Scramble Switch. This can be very nice for picking up surprise KOs with Tapu Lele. But you can also use it to switch out your Toads and stuff like that and get a Garbodor out or whatever the case may be. It's nice. If I had one hanging around, because I rarely play Expanded, I'm kind of forced to on this one, but if I had it, I'd probably be playing Computer Search instead. Super Scoop Up Cyclone, whatever the exact name is. That one would be a good choice too. But I do like Scramble Switch, and I think it could really lead to some very interesting situations. You might even be able to use it to do something crazy like fire off the second attack of one of your like your Garbodor or whatever. So interesting options on that card. I do not think it is bad by any means. You could justify Life 2 or even like Rock Guard. I mean, there are a ton of interesting ace specs you could run here. So it's kind of personal preference, really. And energy is very straightforward. We've got 4 double colorless energies because that's the premier energy of the deck. It's what you want to be using all the time because you want to get that on your Toad ASAP. But we do have some basic energies here. We do have 3, and they are psychic energies so that you can Trash Avalanche, of course. But, if worst comes to worst, you could always just attach 2 to your Toad to be able to Quaking Punch as well. Depending on what your first turn or 2 looks like, you might have to do that. But anyway, that's the energy count. That is the deck. Check it out. It's pretty fun. Seismitoad is always pretty good, and 2 forms of control can really stick it to your opponent. So anyway, till next time, like, comment, subscribe, check me out on my channel. You'll find a lot more content like this, and I will see you next time.